Hi Flosstube, my name's Matt. Also here on YouTube as Starflight Creations, and I'm back for Flosstube number 3 to talk about my stitching at the beginning of September. Um, I was just going to do monthly updates, but there were a lot of things, not necessarily stitchy, but stitching related that happened that I wanted to share. So I decided I was going to do this. Um, at the half month mark, and now I'm just a little late. Um, at the beginning of the month, I was trucking right along, doing really good on my stitching, having great, and then work got really busy, and then I got sick, and things dropped off. So now I'm trying to play catch up and get back to it all. To start with, um, I'll talk about my current works or works in progress. So the first one that I've been working on is been my daily stitcher that I'm working on for um, the Stitching Connection, which is a round robin being hosted by Jason X Stitches, where he has gathered a group of volunteers together and then organized them into groups of 4, where each one will work on a project and then send it to another, and then it will go around between the 4 members and get it back to it. Um, each of my members of the 4 of us are doing a different pattern. So my pattern that I'm doing is Crafty Dragon by Cunningham, Stuart Cunningham. This is what it will look like when it is done. So currently I'm at, I put in 898 stitches on it, bringing it to 2,763 stitches out of 5,027 stitches, which is 55%. And last time you saw it, I was here, and now I am here. So I have made a good amount of progress on this, but I am also behind. I am 357 stitches behind on it, which for 60 stitches a day is like 5 or 6 days behind. So I'm hoping to get caught up with that one soon. The next project that I've been doing is for Andrew, the runner stitcher, had a hosted a challenge that he called Whip into Shape, where you worked on a project putting in 10 stitches for each mile that he did in his marathon training. And when I first found Andrew the Runner Stitcher, he was already in the middle of his first Whip into Shape, so I just kind of watched as everybody else did it. But after he wasn't able to go to the Sydney Marathon, he started a new one for his training for the New York City Marathon in December. And so since that one started the 1st of September, I decided I was going to jump in and keep up to date on that. And like everything else, it was doing really great at the beginning of September before it all fell off. But so I chose my living room set number 2. I forget the name of the person. I'll have it down in the link. She's a Russian artist who designed this one. I originally got it off of Etsy, and so I believe on my last Flosstube I said that you could still get it there. I actually went to go look for it to find a better image, and it is no longer there, so I will now officially say that it is retired. But here is a picture of what it will look like when it is finished. So I have put in 519 stitches on this, which brings it up to 14,855 stitches out of 24,627 stitches, which was really exciting for me because it finally put me over to less than 10,000 stitches, which I've been getting really close to, and I was really excited to see it go over it, which is also why I decided to continue working on this one, because it's my whip that's closest to getting done, so I really wanted to keep working on it. The last time you saw it, this is what it looked like, and here is where it's at now. You'll have to forgive me for the loose dangling threads. So I finished up this section down here in the bottom, and then I brought the side up, and then I came up here and was working up in here. Now I'm going back in here. The stuff over here on the side is all half stitches, so I'm going back up to finish those and get it pulled up here, and then that will be a page finish, which will be exciting. It will be my second page finish on this, because even though at the top up here it looks like this one is all done, actually at the top all of the half stitches aren't done. So another reason I realized why this one is a lot harder to work on for me, other than the fact that it's on Black Ada, for no reason other than I was playing around with Black Ada, is that the Ada itself is really loose, and I can't really get it to tighten up in the Q-snap. Like, I can get the edges themselves tight, but then like a part of it would just go loose. So not the best choice of fabric on that one. But it is getting close to done, so I am excited about that one. And then the next one I worked on was a new start that I started on at the beginning of September. Because in my first Flosstube, I spun Dragon's Lair, but I wasn't able to do it because I didn't have the fabric for it. So I started putting some stitches into Living Room Set 2 while I waited for the fabric. And so now that I have finally had the fabric, so I started that one. And so here's what this one will look like when it's finished. It is Dragon Slayer, artwork by Matt Stawicki, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It is now retired, but Matt Stawicki is now putting a lot of his artwork up onto, is being charted on Unconventional X Stitch. So at the moment this pattern is not there yet, but it is in the process of being put up there. So at some point in the future that would be where you would find it. And so this is where I've got to. So I am at the moment started at the top left corner, and I have put in 566 stitches, which is 0.2% of 291,879 stitches, which will be the largest project I have. And this one made me have to go in and look at the pattern to be like, I didn't think there was sky in this, but that is apparently the cave wall that I am doing. So I've got a good amount of progress on that, not the 1,000 stitches I wanted to get to before I started my next new start on the 14th for my friend Debbie's birthday. But 500 stitches isn't bad for me, so I decided to be happy with that. And then on the 14th I did start, I forced my friend Debbie to start a project with me, which is going to be Hogwarts by Dark X Stitch. This is what it looks like. I'm not going to show you where I'm at now because I have literally put in 4 stitches on it so far, because I got started on it and then that's when work went crazy, and so then I was constantly just working on my round robin, trying to keep that one up to date before I got sick and all of that fell behind. So I really haven't got the stitches into that I wanted to yet, but I'm hoping to get that fixed over the next couple of weeks. But I did put in for between September 1st and September 15th, when was the last day I stitched, 1,987 stitches, which isn't bad for me. So that's all of the stitching that I've had so far. Other than that, I do have some haul, which was a surprise haul. I managed to get to my local native workshop, Acorns and Threads, because one of my friends was going there, and I found out they were going the day before, so I managed to jump in and go with them. So I did end up buying a lot. So the first thing that I bought when I got in, and literally this was in my hand 5 seconds after I was there, was Dragons and Apples, which I had seen the last time I was there and talked myself out of, and then regretted it when I got home. And then the next thing I got was a new pattern put out by Lola Crow for market this year, which was Buried in Books, which as an avid reader I just had to have. And then Sprouting Lupine's Garden of Shadows, which with the black unicorn was really good. And then I got the Lola Crow pattern that's specific for the shop, Acorns and Threads, just because all of those little guys doing their stitching was just, you couldn't pass that up. And then I got Sprouting Lupine's Here There Be Dragons, which I did end up getting a bunch of variegated frosts to play around with that I decided I'm going to use on Here There Be Dragons, just because I've never used variegated frost before and I thought it'd be fun. And then I got Cryptid Christmas because Jason X Stitch announced that he's going to be doing a Smalls gift exchange that he's calling the Winter Connection in November, and I decided I was going to participate in that if I can manage to find the time to get one finished before November 14th. So I decided one of those would work for that. And then the other one that I bought, which I find really funny, because when you watch a lot of Flosstube, you realize that a bunch of people all say the same thing, and it's just kind of phrases that are particular to the stitching world. And one of those is that the pattern or the image on the pattern doesn't do the stitching justice, and we all see that with our own thing. When you look at the pattern and then you look at your stitching a bit done and you're like, oh yeah, that looks so much better. But the first time I really recognized this was with this pattern that I bought, because I first saw it during one of the meetups for the Stitching Connection. Harpy Stitch here on YouTube is also in that connection, and she was doing Ink Circles Elemental Dragons Water. And the first time I saw it, it was, she just kind of held up the pattern, oh, here's the pattern. This is earth, but not water. And I was like, oh, that's not for me, but, glad you're doing something you like. And then I saw her stitching on it when she was in a smaller group with us later. And I was actually like, oh, no, I really like that pattern. So when I was at Acorns and Threads, I was like, oh, let me see if I can find this pattern. And so I ended up getting all 4 of the Ink Circles Elemental Dragons, Earth, Water, Air, and Fire, as well as Variegated Frost to stitch them up with. So that'll be fun. And of course, it wasn't like I needed to go and buy any patterns. I have plenty of stitching to be taken care of. But, as all stitchers say, stitching is one hobby, collecting your patterns is a different hobby. So that was my haul there at Acorns and Threads. Which brings us into plans. So obviously my plans are I'm going to get caught up on my round robin, so that way I'm ready for it to be sent out at the end of October. I'm going to get caught up on Whip into Shape, and keep going with that for the Andrew the Runner Stitchers. And I'm probably going to put away Dragon Slayer because I was really trying to do 1,000 stitches on each one that was called, but I've decided that since I got enough other things going on that have, deadlines that need to be kept up on, that I'm going to do at least 500 stitches, and if I get more within a 2-week period, then I'll just keep going. If I don't, then I'll just spend the next one and move on there. Other than that, my other plan is I will have one other one that I will add into the works. And I'll speak about that more in a moment, because how I got into that deals with this. But first of all, my plans is watching Flosstube. I was watching Cross Stitch in Cambria is Flosstube, and he was talking about how he was going to a retreat in April for whose main designer was the Witchy Stitcher, who he loves. And I had been going back and forth ever since I'd seen the announcement of the retreat of, oh, should I go? Because I really wanted to go, but I've never been on a retreat before, so I tried to talk my friend into going with me, but she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to go, and so I kept tossing around. And then when he was like, oh, like, I'm going, and it's going to be so much fun, and he was talking it up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to check to see if there's still spots available. And so I went and applied and got in. So I have now paid my registration fees, paid my motel, and booked my flight. So I will be going in April to my first in-person retreat, my first retreat period, but I'm hoping to manage to hit one of the online retreats before then. I was really hoping to get the retreat that's going on this weekend, the Harvest Moon Gathering, but there was a lot going on at work this weekend, and so they wouldn't give me the days off. And so I was just, and then after I got sick, I was just like, well, I'm not gonna go in after work like I thought it was, because I was just like, I don't have the energy. So I hoping to hit maybe the Jingle Ball or some of the other ones that might hit before April, or at least on online retreats. But I'm really excited about that one for an in-person retreat. But when I got into the Discord, which was one of the things you got for booking into the retreat for the Cross Stitch Society, which is hosting it, they put you into their Discord, and in there, there was a person, I'm not going to try and pronounce her name because I will butcher it, but she is creating a Discord group for fun little challenges, stitching the world, called Wanderlust. And so I joined into that, and so I will have my oldest whip now at this point, after I finished my Harry Potter Stitch Your Own Adventure and my first Flosstube, is the Animal Crossing Stitch Along, also by Stuart Cunningham. So I'm going to use that as my piece that I stitch on for Wanderlust. So I am going to stitch in the continent of Oceania, and so I'm going to start in New Zealand. But to do that, I first have to get the pattern for the frame for Animal Crossing into Pattern Keeper, so that way I can figure out how many stitches it is and how many stitches I've already done, so that way I can input that information in, so that way I can get started on that. So that's also going to be the other thing that I keep working on. And then when I get, hopefully I can get caught up, and so then I'll get done by the 3rd week of October with my round robin stitching, and then it'll give me a week to make the ornament for the winter connection and get it fully finished before I get the next person's round robin that I will need to get started on. Luckily, I think that the next, like mine is the most stitches out of my whole group, and I think that the next person I get is Jones, who's is the smallest one of the group. So at the very least, I'll have some wiggle room there to get caught up if I need to, but I'm hoping not to. The other thing that I started doing at the beginning of the month, back when I had time and energy and was trucking along with everything, was making a bunch of needle minders, which I was just playing around with. But they turned out really good, just taking out little charms, and then gluing the rare earth neodymium magnets to them, getting them set up, and they really turned out nice and they're working great. So I do have a bunch of them that I put up on mine and my friend's Shopify website, gorgecraftcrew.com, which I'll have a link in the description if anybody's looking at it for a needle minder. And I think that's it for now. I would like to thank Harpy Stitch and Sarah Ann from Pocket Mama Shop for shouting me out. I really appreciated it. It was really nice. She said a lot of really nice things. Megan. Her is MJ Stitches 23 here on YouTube. She also shouted me out, said some really nice things, so I just wanted to thank them all for that. It was really nice to hear. So I will be back with Flosstube number 4 at the beginning of October with hopefully some better stitching progress and be caught back up. I'll see you all then.